bit like Julie, I'm going to have to drop it slightly. I might need a box as well, perhaps. Don't know. I've always thought I was as tall as Shani. So, you know, it's all about what's in your head, really, not what's out in life. But tēnā koutou katoa, it's my great pleasure to be here to share the Netball Smart Programme with you today on behalf of Sharon Kearney. Some of you may have come across Sharon over the last 20 odd years in her role largely with New Zealand teams, the Silver Ferns, as our lead physiotherapist. We're really proud because Sharon has just recently been named to the INF Medical Commission, and we're really thrilled about that honour for her and recognition, and we're sure that hopefully a number of you are going to get to work with her in the future and share some of her energy and enthusiasm. Unfortunately, Sharon can't be here today, so I'm representing her, and we're going to hear from her shortly herself on video. I can honestly say, though, that the video does not do her justice. Sharon in real life is about 10 times more energetic and more enthusiastic and passionate about this area. But just a little bit of context first before we see Sharon. The Netball Smart Programme is originated in around about 2003 when I was previously holding another role with Netball New Zealand as Head of Game Development. Sharon and I worked on the initiation of the Netball Smart Programme in conjunction with our Accident Compensation Corporation. So in New Zealand, we are very fortunate. I think that it's the only system in the world that operates exactly like this, but we have a fantastic no-fault injury claim system. So while a number of us in New Zealand will also have private health insurance, in New Zealand, the minute you enter New Zealand airspace, if you sprain your ankle, break your arm, do an ACL, sprain a finger, do any of those things, you are covered under our government insurance scheme. So it's a no-fault one. As a result, however, the government are very keen through the ACC to ensure that the number of injuries gets decreased rather than increased. So the Netball Smart Programme was a beneficiary of that desire from the government to make sure that the level of injuries doesn't rise. In 2016, when Sharon completed her term with the Silver Ferns as physiotherapist, we were able to recapture Sharon into the program again, and as a result, it's received a great invigoration and has really lifted a lot more again. I've got a folder full of resources there which you are welcome to browse after the presentation and have a look, and we're more than willing to share those resources with any country or any netball organisation who wishes to have a look at those. We actually have a few of our cousins from other codes, particularly the oval ball in New Zealand, who also take great advantage of looking at some of our resources. It is about injury prevention, but most importantly, it's also about performance enhancement. None of us like to see those horrible injuries occurring. None of us like to see those incidents where players are in enormous pain and then unable to take part in our game for a number of months, if not years. And we certainly don't want to see people leaving our game, leaving netball, because they're unable to participate due to injuries. So hence why this Netball Smart Programme was developed. A large target audience for this, particularly in New Zealand, is secondary school or high school age. The reason for that is because netball is the highest participation sport in secondary schools in New Zealand, well ahead of any other code. But unfortunately, we also have the highest number of serious injuries at that age level. And some of that's the result of societal changes where perhaps there's a view that kids don't take risks as much as they used to and jump off fences or house roofs or whatever it was that we used to do when we were younger. But one of the things there is to try and make sure that particularly those athletes at that secondary school age from say 13 to 18 develop really good movement patterns and good strength and mobility and flexibility, so that they make sure that they have those patterns as they develop further through life, and hopefully are still playing at 40 or even 50 and maybe back and walking netball too. It's really important we target coaches, players and umpires, and parents' education has become enormous as well, hence the resources. There's a massive range of resources that go with this program. Sharon will also talk at the end of the video about a new area that's I think come through raised awareness, but also through potentially the greater physical fitness of athletes, and that's concussion. It's also something that we've become more conscious of, I think, and the recognition and management of concussion is really critical for athletes as well. But I think it's best now if I leave it to Sharon. They tell me if I hit the green button it all goes. So Sharon's going to talk to you herself and tell the story.
Hi, I'm Sharon Kearney and I am the Netball Smart Programme Manager for Netball New Zealand. Netball Smart is an injury prevention program that is based in the community. We want our players to play the game, enjoy the game, perform in the game and stay in the game. The main focus of the program is improving movement skills, training skills and performance. The byproduct of this is injury prevention. We have 6 key elements: smart preparation, smart warm-up, cool-down and recovery, smart movement, smart training, smart injury management and smart welfare. We also have 4 other projects: ACL injury prevention, ankle injury prevention, Be Netball Smart About Concussion and Smart Parent.
Smart preparation is the preparation of your mind and body before you take the court, so before a training or a game. Smart preparation for coaches is preparing the players in order to take the court. So netball is a very physically demanding sport. You have to stop suddenly, you have to change direction suddenly, and you have to be able to get in the air and land really strongly. So preparing your body in order to do this, to minimise injury, is really important. To prepare myself for this season, I look at what I need to work on, and so I practice my movement skills and my landing skills. This can be practiced through doing the Netball Smart dynamic warm-up, which involves landing and stopping suddenly. I then practice my bodyweight skills and practice my core, really strengthen my core, as well as practice my landing skills so that it minimises injury. Netball is a running-based sport, and in my position centre I run up to 7 Ks a game. So to minimise injury risk and to prepare myself physically for the season, I need to go out for a run in order to be physically fit and to play a strong game.
Warming up before netball prepares players for the upcoming activity. As a coach, the dynamic warm-up is really important because it's using the movements that the players use in a game situation. I know that it's based on evidence and research, but for me as a coach, the warm-up is the fundamental movements that my players will be using during a game. I've been coaching a group of girls for the past 3 seasons, and we've been using the Netball Smart dynamic warm-up before our trainings and before our games, and I've seen a marked improvement on their jumping, their landing, their takeoffs, because they've managed to perfect those movements, and they're now using them in a game situation, and I can definitely see that they've got those basic skills nailed down. The Netball Smart warm-up has a lot of elements to it, and when we first started doing it, the girls found it quite difficult to master all the movements, but with perseverance we keep practicing it, and now it's second nature to the girls, and then I can also see that they're using those skills in a game situation.
Smart movement is about developing a player's movement skills and technique correctly so that they can compete and enjoy their sport. You become your habits under pressure, so they better be good ones, and it's those habits that we try and develop during trainings so that when it comes to the demands of the game, we've practiced them. We know what landing safely is, we know what turning and landing in a good position is. We can stop, we can pass from any position from where we land, so those habits, it's really important that they are practiced in preparation for the game.
Smart training is ensuring the body of each player is ready and prepared to play. It's made up of a number of components. These components are strength, loading, flexibility, endurance, and power. In our trainings, it's important that we are ensuring quality versus quantity. Adding value to the training session and the training environment is critical so that we are not just dealing with time, but quality of performance. Planning our trainings is a really critical component. It must include a number of aspects. Certainly needs to have a conditioning piece, must have movement and fundamental skills, and include tactics.
Smart player welfare is ensuring that there is a holistic awareness and approach to a player's health, well-being and whole order. Netballers should play multiple sports and not specialise too early. This will help with their overall capability, will help keep things fresh and will also help reduce the risk of injury.
As you know, we do have a number of players who play in a number of teams or across a number of sports. Really important to manage the load, and the key to that is communication. As coaches, we take a huge responsibility to make sure that we're communicating across codes or within teams to ensure the player loading is adequate and is individually prescribed.
Smart injury management is ensuring that injuries are identified, assessed and treated early. Doing the simple things well at the time of injury helps you get back on track, and if in doubt, remove the player from the court. As a coach or player, remember priced for any injury. P, protect the injured part. R, relative rest. Rest the injured part, you can still be active. I, ice the injured part to minimise swelling. C, compress the injured part to minimise swelling. E, elevate the injured part to minimise swelling. D, make sure you get it diagnosed and trust your doctor and physio. I've had a few injuries in my netball career and definitely it's been tough at times, but I work hard and I rehab really well so that I can get back out onto court and play the game that I love. Use the Netball Smart dynamic warm-up to see if you or your players are ready. If they are not able to complete that warm-up, then they are not ready to take the court. If you have a rehab plan, make sure you stick to it.
Knee injuries happen a lot in netball. The ACL is an important ligament in the knee. Bailey, you injured your knee a few years ago. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, I ruptured my ACL 6 years ago. It was a devastating injury. It took me out for 9 months and yeah, I had to rehab myself back on court.
We know that practicing our jumping and landing can help us prevent ACL injuries and should be practiced from a young age through every game and training. What do you do to practice your jumping and landing?
I use the Netball Smart warm-up every single time that I train or play. It involves jumping, landing, changing direction and stopping. I also work really hard on my strength and core, and I make a real effort to focus on landing during any type of training that I do. If I land well, I play well, and I look after my knees. Latonya, it's super important for you to do all of this in your training as well, and it's really important to start at a young age. So let's go and do some practice.
Tiana, did you know ankle injuries make up 42% of all netball injuries? Have you ever injured your ankles?
I've injured my ankle a number of times. I need to make sure I don't injure them, so to do that I use the Netball Smart dynamic warm-up. I practice all my balancing when I'm brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, putting my earrings in, all sorts of things.
What else do you do to look after your ankles?
I strap my ankles before each practice and each game. I keep in contact with my physio to stay on top of everything, and I wear netball shoes and lace my shoes well so that I feel more stable.
Be netball smart about concussions. Concussions aren't common in netball, but it does happen. It is really important that you acknowledge whether you or your playing mates have sustained a potential concussion. Be netball smart about concussions and follow the simple, effective protocols.
Recognise. It's really important that you recognise whether one of you or your fellow mates has had a concussion. They may not be knocked out, they may have a severe headache, they may be complaining of dizziness, or they may just be doing some odd things.
Remove. Remove any player with a suspected concussion immediately from the court. Make sure they do not return to the court for the rest of the game.
Refer anybody with a suspected concussion to their doctor as soon as possible.
Rest. It is important that a player has up to 24 hours of physical and mental rest. Limit the screen time and keep an eye on your mates.
Recover. Work with your doctor to determine the best form of recovery so that you can return to the game that you love. You must work with the doctor's protocol.
Return. The player must only return back to the court once they have been cleared by their doctor.
Use the Netball Smart Dynamic Warm-Up to determine whether you're ready for training once you have been cleared by your doctor.